The Ecovacs A3000 LiDAR was the best smart mower of 2025 without a doubt. So, how could they make it better? They can add a trimmer! Yes, this is the Ecovacs A3000 LiDAR Pro, the first smart lawnmower that I've tested with a built-in trimmer. But is it as good as you hope it will be? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about who this is for and who it's not. So without further ado, let's jump in the video. First off, I do want to thank Ecovacs for sending this out to me for a full, honest review, but I do not allow any other type of sponsorships on any of my channels. Now, the A3000 LiDAR from last year, hands down, best smart lawnmower with that LiDAR. There's no RTK station. There's no wires that you have to install. You simply install the base that just needs to be plugged in, and you can send it out there to AutoMap, or my recommendation is to actually map it yourself depending on what type of yard you have, and you can be up and running in minutes. And we have the same simple setup and reliability of the original A3000, but now in the Pro version with the trimmer. And I remember when I first saw this at CES, I asked myself, why are they mounting this to the left, where I've seen some other add-on trimmers to some other smart lawnmowers that were on the right. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. So if you're wondering the same thing, as long as the mower knows which side the trimmer is on, it can just reverse the direction of its trimming ability. No problems there. But I do have some other reservations in my testing, so definitely stay tuned as you will find out if this is right for you, or should you just get the regular A3000 LiDAR. Now, when I first got this, I set it up, was mapping all the boundaries, which I do recommend. If you want to use the auto, that is great, as long as you have defined areas, meaning that you have like fences or driveways or sidewalks that define a zone. If you share a lawn with a neighbor, you're going to have to stop the auto mapping and take over. So you can start from the beginning, or you can start the auto first and then take over. I just rather walk around with it myself, and I can get as close as possible to everything that I want to trim. Now, one thing with the new trimmer, when you're mapping, you want to map it on the right hand side, and they tell you this in the instructions. You don't map it where you think it's going to trim with the left hand side. You want to map it on the right hand side. And take my word for it, because I did test it at first, mapping it with that left-hand side where I wanted to trim, and it actually did a better trimming job once I corrected it and mapped it on the right-hand side. In addition, where areas met up with like a flush driveway or sidewalk where it was level, I purposely straddled both sides, as I did in the original A3000. That way, I didn't have to worry about trimming in that area. There is a setting within the app that you can mark flush boundaries, and it kind of will do that for you, where it doesn't need to do that trimming because it can just regularly mow partly on the yard and partly off onto the driveway or sidewalk. But if you have true areas where you need the trim, or you have drop-offs, maybe like a curb, you can't do that. So you want to mark those boundaries within the app to be trimmed by the trimmer. You can do that after you do the original mapping. You can draw the areas that you purposely want to be trimmed. Now, once you make your first area, you can customize settings for that one area, depending on what grass height you want. You can go from 1.2 inch all the way up to 3.5 inch. And you can also adjust the speed and direction of each and every area. If you want to rotate the area every week, there's a setting with that, so you can get different lines, which I really like. And then you can also have different obstacle avoidance mode, just in case your grass is a little bit taller than normal. You can set it for a higher grass environment. That will kind of defeat some of the obstacle avoidance for some of the lower, smaller objects. But if you didn't have that setting, that higher grass, if you missed any cutting cycles, might be seen as an obstacle instead of being actually cut. So you do want to mow every few days. I like to mow every 2 to 3 days each zone, and I can rotate them. And if there's a 1 or 2 rainy days, it can easily catch up. You don't want to wait an entire week like a normal mower. It's just going to get too tall too fast, and the mower is going to have to stay out there too long, where smart mowers are supposed to be out there every single day for certain areas, just trimming off a little bit every single day or every couple days. And because this uses LiDAR for its navigation, it does really well under trees. So unlike mowers that have RTK stations that you have to set up separately that tends to lose signal under trees, this does really well. Now, if you have a big yard that's quite open with nothing for that LiDAR to bounce off of, this might not be for you. There's other smart lawnmowers out there that are for big open fields. But because this is rated up to 3/4 of an acre, most people are going to be fine with this because your house is going to sit on there. You're going to have bushes and trees and neighbors and that kind of stuff, and it can bounce the LiDAR signal off of that. But if you have a big open field, obviously this mower is not for you. It's up to 3/4 of an acre. And it does a really great job of mowing, just like last year's model. So I'm not going to go deep dive into this. You can check out that video if you want to, but does great mowing. You can see the lines of where it's been mowed, and it looks amazing. All my neighbors are jealous and comment how great my yard looks all the time. And when it came to the blades, I never changed them at all last season. You probably don't want to wait a whole season to change them, but if you do, like I said, I used them the entire season last year and didn't have any problems whatsoever. And then when winter came around, I just washed everything down. And if I was going to use that one again this year, I would have put new blades on there, but I did get the pro version. But when I donate the original version, I'll definitely put new blades on. And the docking station is really easy to install. You can place this near your house. Obviously, you need a power source, and it needs to be a flat area. Otherwise, it will have trouble trying to dock every time it goes back, and you don't want that headache. Make sure it's nice and flat. And like I mentioned earlier, you can have multiple zones. Each part of your yard you can make into a different zone. So maybe the left part of your house is one zone, then you might have a backyard which is the only downside to this is if you do have a fence, you will have to open that gate for this to get through there. There's no great solution for that yet for most smart lawnmowers. Hopefully we'll get there soon, but right now you still do need mainly open your gate for your smart lawnmower when you're ready to mow that zone. You do map out the path between each zone, and I do suggest that you might have multiple paths across like a driveway, just in case someone parks on the driveway and there's no other way for the robot to get back unless there's a second or third path. Not going to tell you how I know that, but definitely make multiple paths across a driveway just in case someone does park there. And you can also set no-go zones or no entry zones. So if you have a certain area where you don't want the mower to go into, you can draw that out. Say, for instance, maybe there's a tree bed that you don't want this thing going up on, or maybe some area that you don't want to be mowed every week. You can mark that out all within the app, which is super easy to do. And now let's talk about the new thing, the trimmer on the side. Now this trimmer is a string trimmer, and you do have to install it. I did another video on my other channel where I did install this. It's just 3 screws, super easy to do. It took me maybe 5 minutes to do once I knew what I was doing, and I had it up and running within minutes. And like I mentioned earlier, when you map this out, you do want to map on the right hand side, which is the side that does not have the trimmer. And then when you say out there at the trim, which by the way, if you put it in auto, it's going to mow first, then trim that area. Or you can manually pick one zone to mow or one zone or multiple zones to trim. It's all up to you of how you want to mow it or put it on a schedule. That is totally up to you. But when it does mow, it's going to go on the left hand side towards the area that needs to trim. But keep in mind, areas that it can straddle, you don't want to trim. You kind of want to have that setting in there where I mentioned earlier, where it tells it can get really close, or even when you're mapping it, go ahead and straddle the mower yourself, but in areas that it needs to get up close to actually trim, say for instance like a fence line or maybe some flower beds where it can't straddle, then mark those areas to get actually trimmed. Now in my testing, unfortunately it didn't do great. It did better than not having it, so I do recommend, if you had a choice between the normal version and this version, yes, this helps, but will it totally cut down your trimming? No, unfortunately it will not. It does really well in long straight areas, but if there's any turns or irregularities, it doesn't get super close. So you will still have to get out there once or twice a month to do fine trimming, because this really can't get close enough in all those nooks and crannies where the grass is going to be growing. Yes, it's better than not having a trimmer at all, but it's not the end of the trimming as much as I hoped. Obviously, everyone's gonna get different results based off their yard layout, but I do suggest that you play with the mapping and see how close you can really get just to help out. But those curves, whenever it gets to a corner or something, there's just no way that this machine can get in there. So that's always going to have to be manually trimmed until they come out with some other type of design. But otherwise, this still does an amazing job of mowing, just like the original version. And adding that trimmer is a huge step in the right direction, even though it's not as much trimming as I hoped. And by the way, it's super easy to replace the trimming line. I've been using this for about a month now, and I don't need to replace it, even though I wanted to demonstrate how to, and it's super easy. You just hold down the start button or the play button on the machine, and that trimmer head will automatically come down after like 4 or 5 seconds. And then take out that little screw in the middle, press the 2 buttons, and the top will come off, and then you get to the little trimming reel, and you can replace that reel quick and easy. When you do it, make sure you pull out enough string so it has its full length. And if you pull out too much, no big deal. There's a little cutter on here that will trim it to the proper length. Overall, I'll definitely give this a 2 thumbs up. The only minor cons I have here is, one, it can't open gates. You still manually have to do that, but that's pretty much with most smart lawnmowers. And 2, it doesn't get as close as I want to in all areas where I want to trim, as it does not handle turns and corners that well. It does really well in trimming when it's straight and narrow. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, hit that helpful button. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.